Hello students, in last class we have studied about the diseases. Diseases, what are diseases and the terms related to the diseases. Now one more term is there, symptom. It is usually used in diseases, symptoms. Let's define what are symptoms. A symptom is a change in a normal functioning of the body. Which is felt by patient but cannot be observed by the doctor. So a symptom is that condition which a patient tells to a doctor. For example, stomach and headache. Stomach ache and headache. These symptoms only indicate that a patient is suffering from a disease, but they don't detect the disease. These symptoms only indicate that a patient is suffering from a disease, but they don't detect the disease. So a symptom is a change in the normal functioning of the body which is felt by the patient but cannot be observed by the doctor. So symptoms are the conditions which a patient tells to a doctor and it cannot be observed by the doctor. These symptoms only indicate that a patient is suffering but they don't detect the disease. Now one more term is there, sign. Generally people get confused between these two terms, that sign and symptoms are both the same things but they are entirely different things. Sign is a change in the body function or structure. Change in the bodily function or structure that can be observed signs give doctor a good idea of disease. Good idea about the disease. For example, rashes. Example of signs are rashes, swelling of gland, change in color of skin. So now we have got the difference between the sign and the symptoms. What are symptoms? A symptom is a change in a normal functioning of the body which is felt by the patient and cannot be observed by the doctor, like the stomach ache and the headache. But sign are observed by a doctor, like swelling, rashes of the skin, change in color of the skin. So these both sign and symptom help in diagnosis of a disease. Sign plus the symptoms of a disease help in diagnosis of a disease. What is diagnosis? Diagnosis is a process of identifying disease. Diagnosis, process of identifying disease. Now the next term is vaccine. It is a suspension of weakened. We can also say weakened as attenuated. Attenuated means the virulence of the bacteria or the infectious agent has been removed from that microorganism. It is a suspension of weakened or attenuated or killed infectious agent injected or given orally to prevent disease. It is a suspension of weakened or attenuated or killed infectious agents injected or given orally to prevent disease. For example, there are a number of vaccines which are given for preventing the disease. For example, BCG is a vaccine for tuberculosis. polio vaccine that is given orally. That is given orally. It is also known as OPV, oral polio vaccine. Oral polio vaccine. Now let us differentiate between pathogen and antigen. Pathogen and antigen. Most of us get confused that both these terms are same, but these are entirely different. Pathogen is a living organism. Living organism that is capable of producing disease. And antigens are present on the surface of pathogen. Present surface of the pathogen. These are proteinaceous in nature. Proteinaceous in nature, and these proteins are recognized by our body as a foreign substance. Now we are going to categorize the disease on the basis of the duration. Categorization of disease. So first, on the basis of duration. On the basis of duration, disease have been categorized into two types: acute diseases and chronic diseases. Acute diseases and chronic diseases. So now we'll discuss these one by one. First, acute diseases. These are of shorter duration. And these are of longer duration. Being of shorter duration, it damage less, it causes less damage. Being of shorter duration, it causes less damage, while in chronic disease, organs are affected for longer duration. Organs are affected more. In acute diseases, the duration is shorter, but in chronic disease, the duration is longer. Being of shorter duration, acute diseases causes less damage, while in chronic disease, as these are of longer duration, organs are affected more. Third point of difference between acute and chronic diseases: person recovers after treatment. In acute diseases, person recovers after treatment. Not fully recovered. In chronic disease, a person is not recovered fully. Fourth point, in acute disease, there is no loss of weight. No loss of weight and no feeling of weakness. No feeling of weakness. But here, in chronic disease, loss of weight and weakening both occurs. Examples of chronic disease. Examples of acute disease are diarrhea, typhoid. If a person catches diarrhea or typhoid, he would recover fastly. He would recover soon, because this is an acute disease which is of a shorter duration. While in a chronic disease, for example, tuberculosis and diabetes, a person will never recover fully. Now we would categorize disease on the basis of extent of occurrence. On the basis of extent occurrence. So four type. First is the endemic disease. Second, epidemic. Third, pandemic. And last one is the sporadic. Now we'll define this one by one. First we'll take endemic disease. What are endemic disease? When the disease is found in certain area only. Found in certain area only. These diseases are known as endemic disease, like yellow fever in example. Yellow fever in South Africa, some African countries, and goiter in sub-Himalayan region. Goiter in sub-Himalayan region. Now epidemic. Epidemic disease are those disease which breaks out at a particular place but spread from place to place. Breaks out at a place and spreads from one place to other. Example of the disease in plague in India in 1994 spread from Surat to other nearby places. Plague that occurred in 1994 in India, it spread from Surat to nearby regions also. Pandemic disease are widely distributed worldwide. These are widely distributed worldwide. The best example of pandemic disease is AIDS. As we all know, AIDS patients are found in all over the world. Now comes the sporadic, when there are scattered individual cases of a disease. When there are scattered individual cases of a disease. For example, malaria and cholera. So today we have categorized disease on the basis of their duration, and second on the basis of the occurrence, extent of occurrence. In the next class we would be classifying disease on the basis of their communicability and causative agent. Thank you.